If you want to have the best year in 2026, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you pretty much a 2026 blueprint. And I'm going to show you literally how to create the life, how to design the life that you want today so you can live way better tomorrow. And the goal, honestly, is to allow not only you and myself and us, whoever watches this video, to have the best year ever. And these are 7 things that I'm doing personally in my life to make sure that 2026 is already the best year ever. And that when 2027 comes around, I'll be in a way better position, 10 times, 100 times X, for people that are in the same lane as me, but even from where I was today. And I'm just making this video, honestly, so I can help maybe somebody out there to inspire, motivate, and just give insight on some of the things that I'm doing and that my community is doing in order to literally have the best year ever. My name's Amari. I'm a 31-year-old young entrepreneur in Miami, Florida, and guess what? This video is for you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share if you at least got 1% value from this video. So number 1, the first thing you want to do is you want to start with the end in mind. And that's what I did. So when I went back into my 2025 end of the year, I said, where do I want to be at in 2026? Where do I want to be at by the end of 2026? How do I even want to start my 2027? And based off of what I wrote down, based off of some of the ideas that I had, based off of some of the things that I prayed about to God, I said, you know what? These are the things that I want to happen in my life. This is how I want my life to look. House, car, friends, relationships, faith life, family life, all of the things. And I said, you know what? I need to start from the end, because we can always start from the front, but what is my end goal? And based off what my end goal is, I now know that I need to do these things in order to get to that end goal. And so I wanted to identify, before I wrote the goals, I had to identify who I wanted to become, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to be perceived. And those are the things that are on my mind for all of 2026 going into 2027. And so I had to make sure I redefine those things for sure. So you want to keep the end in mind. What do you want to be? Who do you want to become? And when you do that, that is step 1, because then you can just go backwards and say, I need to do these things in order to align my life with who I see myself being, who I see the perception of me becoming in 2026 by 2027. And what that does is that allows you to head in a direction. A lot of us want to go fast, and they say success loves speed, which is true. Momentum is everything. At the end of the day, though, I'd rather go in the right direction than go fast but in the wrong direction. I want to get there and not have to turn back. And I want to have to turn back as little as possible. And that's how you minimize the losses or the lessons and maximize the wins. It's like trading. In trading, the whole point and the whole goal is to what? Maximize the wins, minimize the losses. And that's why we want to look at the end first and not just the beginning. Number 2, faith first and not later. Yes, faith first and not later. What do I mean by that? I want to make sure that I'm keeping God in everything that I'm doing. I humbly bow down to the God of Jesus, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, right? And I come to him and I say, man, Lord God, this is what I did. Lord God, what do you want my life to look like? Or what do you want from me? Do I have permission to pursue these things? Do I have permission to go ahead and obtain these things? I want to keep him first, because I know at the end of the day, if it's God's will and I'm submitted to that, then guess what? I know I'm going to have a magnificent year. Now, that doesn't mean that everything's going to go right in my eyes, but everything will go according to his will, whether it's right or wrong. And I want to make sure that I'm just being grateful for where I am, being hopeful for where I potentially can go, and being a loving person to those around me, and being able to shed light in how I'm moving, how I'm speaking, how I'm talking. And so I plan on keeping God first. I got to keep God first. The beautiful thing about number 2 is the fact that I was just in church last Sunday, and our pastor was talking about first fruits. The passage was first fruits. Now we think that giving God our first is what we give him. But no, pastor was saying, man, giving God our first is not what we give. It's how we give it, in the order that we give it in. Right? He used the story of Cain and Abel. And Abel gave God all of his first, the best of the best. Let's say it was a sheep. He gave him the best sheep. Of the sheep, he gave him the best part of the sheep. And the beautiful thing about that is, and I remember Pastor saying this, is that when you give the best sheep, the firstborn sheep, well, guess what? You don't know if any other sheep is going to produce. But what Abel was doing was he was trusting God. Hey, God, I don't know if I'm going to get more, but I'm trusting you with this because I know your will. And Cain did the opposite. He still gave. He gave good portions, but he didn't give the best portions. It's not about what they give, it's how they gave it. So I want to give this year to God first and foremost. Now, will I mess up? 100%. Will you mess up? 100%. But it's all about keeping God first. And so I plan to keep God first, and hopefully you do too. Number three, and this is a big one for me because earlier this year, and I guess it's January, early January. So at the end of last year, earlier this year, I guess, a couple of days ago, I came to my buddies, and really on the back end of last year, I said, hey guys, and I came to the people that I was hanging around the most, mainly the fellas. And I was like, hey guys, I'm hanging around y'all the most. I want to submit a budget to you guys. Because I want to hang out with you guys more, but I feel tight in these areas. I got to create a budget this year. I have to budget us in. And so number 3 is the financial budget. The financial budget. For me, I was never really a big budgeter because I always felt as if God had me, which he has. I always wasn't the most intentional with necessarily how my money was maneuvering. And that cost me dearly. It's cost me investment opportunities. It's cost me being able to do things when I want, how I want, what I want. It's just cost me so much. Now, I'm not poor. I live a pretty middle class life, but I can be better in my finances. Every dollar for me now has a place to go. Every expenditure has a budget in between, and I wanted to focus on my budget in 2026 because I know where I want to be at in 2030. Forget about 2027. I know where I want to be at in 2030, in 2035. So I know if I do these things now, if God put certain things in my life, I would have already have budgeted for it. So I don't necessarily have to budget for it out of shock. Does that make sense? So I had to make sure my budget is right. And I want to show you guys some of the things that I budgeted for. And this is kind of how I broke down my budget. And I think what a lot of us need to understand now is that a budget doesn't restrict the things that you can do. What a budget does is it puts the things in place that you need to have in a budget in place, and then you have room for error. A budget allows you to have more room for error, more room for things that you want to do, more room for things that you desire on your heart. But then also what it does is it places things in a priority. Hey, I can't do this because I have a budget for this. I was at my friend's house this weekend, and he was like, Amari, man, this budget, man, I got a budget. I know where I got to go. And he showed me 2 pictures. There was 2 wedding invites, one to like Egypt and one to somewhere else, somewhere out of the country. And usually he was like, man, I'm going, bro. I'm making it in the budget. I don't care if it's not in the budget. It is in the budget. And he was like, yo, I'm not going to these 2 weddings. 2 good friends of his out of the country, beautiful places. I'm not going to these weddings because they don't align with my budget. They don't align with where I see myself a year from now. They don't align with the mission statement and the goal of what the financial budget looks like. So for me, right, I have everything in a percentage allocation, and I start to change my mindset. My mindset is no longer the dollar amount. My mindset is the percentage amount. How much percentage do I want to budget this for? And so for me, right, my living expenses, well, first of all, I have a cap. I'm not living off of a certain amount of money. For you, that can be $5,000 a month. For somebody, that can be $10,000 a month. For somebody else, I'm not living off of more than $15,000 a month. Well, guess what? For whatever amount I sent, anything that goes over even goes into an extra excess bucket. So this is my breakdown. 22% goes to living expenses. My rent, 15%, right? If you don't pay rent right now, you can act as if you are paying rent. So you can have that practice earlier. So when it comes around where you're paying rent or a mortgage and you're married and you got kids and all that, guess what? You have that, right? Giving. So a 13% total giving, 10% to my church, and then also 3% to outreach giveaways. And then the foundation. My parents have a school in the foundation, Troop Up Academy. I'm giving 3% no matter what. I give 3% of what I make every month to whatever they got going on, right? Because I know the cause of that. Savings, 17%. And also next to these, I have some of these, I have goals next to them, dollar amount. So savings, I have a dollar amount next to it. Investing, long-term, 17%. Those are Bitcoin, dividends, long-term vehicles, right? I'm investing. I got to start saving. And I'm in a position now where I could probably save a little bit more than most, right? So that's about 34% in just savings alone, right? Almost 40%. Relationships and community, family, friends, community experiences. Let's say I want to go on a date, maybe, I don't know. Those are 7%. And then I have a buffer of about anywhere from 6 to 9%. And so those are my percentages. And yeah, those are my percentages. And that's how I chose to break it down. And anything over the amount that I set for myself that I'm going to live on, I created an excess bucket. And so for every dollar I make over what I'm living off of, my excess bucket works like this. Investing 40%, savings 24%, church, tithing 10%, my parents' foundation 12%, outreaches 3%, taxes 5%, buffer 9%. And so you can do whatever you want, but I believe that in 2026, it's the time of extreme acceleration, but it's also going to take extreme configuration on what our financial budget is. And you know what's crazy? I'm not the most financially adept, and I'm learning how to be that now. But what I would say is that even in the Bible, it talks about money and business more than anything. And it's so crazy to me now that I think about it. It's like, no, it's giving us principles. The Bible gives us principles on how we can do that, right? And so, like, don't be the borrower and the lender. I've been that guy that's made that mistake before, right? And I'm still catching up from some of those mistakes, just to be transparent, right? And so having a budget is so important. Have multiple streams of income. It says that in the Bible. Well, you know what? I'm not going to do 10 different things. I'm going to do one or two things and have it aligned in a way where I can create multiple buckets from it, right? And so that's the beautiful thing about, even reading things like the Bible, books like, Think and Grow Rich, and so on and so forth. And so that is my budget. And hopefully you can budget in, 2026. And you're not going to get it perfect. But if I get this budget 50% right, I'll be 50% better than where I was last year in terms of the amount of access I'm flowing in, right? Beautiful. Number 4, time is valuable. Time is probably even greater than money, is the greatest asset we can have, because you know what? We can always find more money somewhere in the world. But when it comes to time, that clock is ticking and we don't know the time nor the day. Our time, my time, your time is not necessarily more valuable than others people's time, but it is the most valuable thing when it comes to the other things that we cherish in our life. So what does that mean for me? I made a calendar, y'all. I made a calendar. I'm so proud of myself. I made a calendar. And what does a calendar do? For the longest time, I was like, you know what? I can just remember it. I just do this. In my mind, you know what? Let me make a calendar. And my good friend, the reason why I started even was like, you know what? Let me make a calendar, because a good friend of mine, it was December and it was their birthday and it was Christmas and it was New Year's and it was all these things. And they said, yo, Amari, bro, like, what's good? I got my whole December planned out and you're not in the calendar. And it's like 10 days into December. And I was like, yo, I was going to be like, yo, let's hang out. But they didn't know that. And so they didn't have it put in their calendar. And what that told me is they want to hang out and they want to vibe out. But guess what? I'm not in their calendar. And they said that because if I'm not in their calendar, the chances of us hanging out are going to be slimmer and slimmer. Not because they don't want to. It's because that they're going to fill that space with something, right? Nobody wants idle time. Idle time in 2026 isn't good. We don't want idle time if it's detrimental to our growth. And that's what happens when we're unorganized. And for me, I'm a very balanced within the chaos type of guy. I don't mind chaos because I know how to balance within it. But you know what? In 2026, let me plan my calendar. So all I did was say, hey, ChatGPT, these are all of the things that I'm doing. These are my daily schedules. These are things that I planned out for the rest of the year. I need you to put it in my schedule. So Chat did it. Chat made a whole schedule. It had me sync with this app called AnyDo. And it put it on a file. I exported it to my Google Calendar. And now I have it. Every time something comes up, I get a 90-minute notice and a 30-minute notice to where I know that these things are happening. Today, I had 3 meetings today. One of the meetings I had a room to put inside because I had a calendar. I wasn't guessing, right? Had a meeting at 9:30 to about 10:30. Then I had some free time. Then I had an open spot on my calendar at 1 o'clock. Put it in my calendar at 1 o'clock. You know, now I'm doing something that's, you know, these things are in my calendar. And if they're not in my calendar, I know that I have room to say yes or no. And so we want to be strategic in who we spend our time with. You know, we want to spend 33% of our time with 3 types of people. People that we look up to, mentors, people that inspire us, whether that's in person or online, right? We want to spend 33% of the time with people that are on our same trajectory, right? Hey, you know, we may not be doing the same exact thing, but guess what? We're going in the same path. Like your accountability partners, and I have a few of them. You know, men and women, right? Who are holding me accountable because they're holding themselves accountable, and I know that they're holding themselves accountable. They know I'm holding myself accountable. So now we're accountable to each other in this ecosystem. And then the biggest group of people is, you know, people you're teaching, right? Hopefully somebody's gonna watch this video and get value from it. This video is gonna be a blueprint for somebody to have success later in the future. And this is me teaching by just telling you what I'm doing. Hopefully this can help somebody else. So our time is valuable. Have everything on a calendar. Calendars are great. Use AI. Number 5, audit your circle. In 2026, we got to audit our circle. The people that we hang around with, we become the most like. So who are you hanging out with? Audit your circle. I'm not saying you have to put anybody down, but sometimes you have to say, hey, I cannot be in this environment because I have these goals, right? And the good thing that I like about auditing your circle is that the best thing about it is that you want to audit yourself. Audit your own circle. Audit you. Are you the person that somebody wants to be in their circle? Audit your circle. Number 6, build a brand. Brand building is one of the most important things you can do in today's world. Brand building. Build your brand. I'm telling you, when you build your brand, you'll be able to have an opportunity to be able to have people purchase product from you. Do whatever you want. So build your brand. So yes, you want to build your brand. When you building your brand and building our brand in 2026 is so important. Now, why is building our brand so important? It's because a lot of times we want to make an extra income, you know, have a bigger audience, make more impact. But guess what? In 2026, we now have that chance. How do we have that chance? We have that chance by simply being able to use social media, use YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, all these things that are free, LinkedIn, to be able to give value on the things that we know the most. And now we're able to help people. The more value we give out into the ecosystem, the more it'll come back. So in 2026, how much value are you giving based off of the knowledge that you had that God has been able to gift you with based off of what you experienced in your lifetime, right? And all you gotta do is pick up a camera, pick up an Osmo, just like this, record a few videos, boom, put them in the ecosystem, and maybe it'll help somebody. And then beyond that, what happens is in 2026, we have no excuse not to build big audiences, right? We have no excuse to not have the life that we want. And I'm talking to myself at this point because we're not building our brand. Think about this. I'm not saying that having a job is bad or a career, because those things are great. Everybody needs a career. You need a career in something, whether you're an entrepreneur, 9 to 5, tech person, whatever it is, CEO, CFO, C-suite executive, whatever it is, founder, anything, right? You need to have something that you're doing. But what happens when you pivot and you want to bring people with you? Well, guess what? The bigger your audience is, the easier that pivot is, because people don't buy from people. People don't buy from companies. People buy things and do things. Why? Because of people. And so the bigger your audience is, which means that the more value you're going to have to give, the easier those transitions are. You know, if you don't want to be known just for one thing or be, how do I say this, be shackled to what somebody else has to say all the time, then you want to start to build your own audience. And it can start by simple videos like this. So build your own audience. And when you're building your audience, make sure that you're taking the audiences that you're building on these platforms and putting them in your ecosystem with systems, with automations, brand building. And you can use AI to build your brand. I'm going to upload this video, put it in CapCut, use AI to shorten it up, cut out the choppy parts, and I'm going to put it on YouTube. We're going to make it all happen. Guys, AI is your friend and building your brand. Now, what is a brand? A brand is not something that you've gone viral for. A brand is simply what people know you for when they see your face or interact with you. What do they know you for? And you can control that narrative based off of the content that you put out in the ecosystem. And the last one is what? Be a part of a community or build a community that other people can be a part of. In 2026, I believe that because we live in the most technological society of all time, where we can literally reach millions of people with one post. I had a post just recently that did 220,000 views on YouTube. Well, guess what? I'm not seeing those people. those people, I'm connected with them, I guess. But but that doesn't mean that I'm building depth with those people. And although we're the most connected society of all time because of social media, we are also the most loneliest because we are behind cameras like this. We don't know how to, go out and take trips and communicate with people that are in our vicinity. So guess what? Communities are important, right? In real life, IRL, in real life experiences are going to be important in 2026. But how do you first build an in real life experience? You build it online, right? And it's so beautiful because in one of my networking communities that we created, we have about 8,500 people that have come through the community, come to an event, RSVP for an event. But guess what? Now I'm able to meet these people in real life. We just went to the Orange Bowl game, football game. And guess what? I was able to invite people from my community because we've been in-person events, online events, just all of the things. So I'm excited about 2026. Hopefully you're excited about 2026. And I'm telling you, if you do these 7 things, if you follow these 7 principles, I promise you, you will have one of the best years, if not the best year in 2026 that you've ever had, ever. And it's already done. You've already had the best year that you're ever going to have. So now it's time to make it happen. Anyways, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And make sure you stay tuned in so you don't get tuned out. I'm out of here.